Good morning. Welcome to the webinar today. We're excited to be with us. As our technology partner and affiliate, SkyCentral. We've been very excited for this month's customer webinar for this reason, and so let's get down right to it. We have presenters today. We have Kinghorn, our product manager, Stu Perkins, our product expert, and then Tyson Green, our associate product manager. They will present to you in that order. We have a lot to get to, and so we're going to get to it. Here's our agenda. Dwayne's going to cover common IT challenges and solutions. Stu's going to cover the actual portal. He's going to have a demonstration of password reset software requests, approval flows. We're going to show all these features. It's going to be great, and I would like to remind you that we will have our Q&A session, as usual, at the end of the webinar. However, feel free to submit questions at any time. We remind you, please submit questions into the Q&A box and not the chat box. When you submit them to the Q&A box, it makes it much easier for us to manage all the questions that come in and ensure that every single one of them gets answered quickly and efficiently. So please insert them into the Q&A box at any time throughout the presentation. You don't have to wait till the end, but we will get to all those questions at the end. So I'm going to pass things over to Dwayne.
Good morning, everyone, and good. Hey, thanks everyone for taking time to walk through this demo. This is a really exciting new product that we've got to talk about today on this seminar. So as we think through the various issues, we've talked with a number of organizations. There's a lot of feedback as we've started the development process of this particular project at SkyCentral. See a lot of common issues that many small and mid-sized organizations are continually confronting. There's a big explosion in mobility. You've got users that are trying to access corporate resources from the road with laptops, with mobile devices, iOS, Android, etc. And whenever there is a password management issue associated with coming back into the network, that's a real challenge when you're on the road. You know, there's a lot of good internet solutions for banking and e-commerce, et cetera. But a lot of times organizations aren't providing that same level of remote password management and making sure that they can help users, especially the remote users, the ones where it's not really easy for the help desk to just walk over to the desk and help them do a password reset. So users from a mobile perspective, make sure that management of passwords does not become a blocking issue. We see that very, very common. Numbers in most help desks, reset and password management is really one of the biggest cost drivers in the implementation of any help desk product. We think this solution that we're going to show today, you'll see how it's going to dramatically reduce the cost and complexity of supporting remote users from a password perspective. Most all of you are using GroupLink today from a service desk perspective, and you use it for areas in the change and incident and problem areas in your organization. But lots of times there are processes that run within an organization that aren't necessarily associated with some big change, IT infrastructure change, or it's not a problem. They're not a particular issue. It's just simply something needs to get done. Many times these can be associated with simple requests like, I need a new phone. My laptop is getting old. Can I get it replaced? I've got to change my job function. I'd like to get access to this new licensed piece of software. So managing the hardware and software requests for the user community, again, is one of those areas that tends to take a lot of time from the service desk. And as we looked at the cost and complexity of those issues, we think what we put into this portal, you'll see in the demo today, we can help manage that cost and complexity. Obviously, everybody understands the constraints that rolling out a new product can be a challenge when most organizations feel like they're already overwhelmed. Not a lot of budget. There's certainly not a lot of headcount management. It's always coming back and saying, more projects, but no more people or no more funding. And to make sure that as we designed this product, it was really set to be delivered using a methodology that can be very, very cost-effective for small and medium-sized organizations. So that we are showcasing today from SkyCentral is a cloud-hosted solution. And one of the greatest things about cloud-hosted solution is, as we think about the challenges that we went through, one, it makes it very, very easy for the remote users to access and have total ability to interact with the portal regardless of whether they're inside or outside the firewall. It's available on mobile devices, Windows, Mac, OS, Android. It's available when they're hoteling, on the road traveling. The cloud makes the access to the portal available to anyone, anywhere. And it's also great from the IT perspective in that you don't have additional infrastructure that you have to set up and maintain. Where there's lots of valuable products that are in the market, oftentimes the cost and complexity of deploying the servers, the infrastructure, managing the backup plan, the disaster recovery plan, those are things that can make it very, very difficult to actually get the return on investment, particularly for smaller and mid-sized organizations as you look at deploying new infrastructure solutions. So a cloud-hosted solution is also great in that we take ownership of all the data backup, the physical security, the power, the cooling, and so on. You just have a service that's in the cloud. It's a managed service. You're able to deploy it to your users but don't have to worry about any of the infrastructure. And even though this is cloud-hosted, we've ensured that this is tied with your Active Directory. Your directory is the source of truth of the users. It defines the way that the users authenticate with their business systems, with their email, with the file servers. Many of you are probably also starting to leverage single sign-on technologies, going to things possibly such as Salesforce using a single sign-on from your Active Directory. We've made sure that everything that we do in this cloud can leverage the accounts and security model that is present today in your Active Directory. This is an automation of end-user processes. We ensure that that you're going to see us demonstrate in the portal today help automate things happen over and over again, reducing your support call, reducing the amount of times that you have to manually jump in and do something, rather manage these projects and processes through an automated workflow system that's cloud-hosted. So hopefully it's a great experience for your users and less time and easy to deploy from the IT department's perspective. As mentioned, it's set up to Active Directory. We also, right after the initial release, you'll be seeing in the context of software requests, we have support for Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager. Any of you that use that as a mechanism to maintain software delivery packages and to deploy software updates to the endpoint, you'll see we integrate with SCCM as well as, of course, your Microsoft Active Directory. So features that we're going to go through today in the demonstration. Make it you can see how users, regardless of whether they're inside or outside the firewall, mobile device or laptop, they have the ability to reset their password with Active Directory. Many VPNs require that the user has an Active Directory context. What if I forget my password or if my account gets locked out when I'm remote? I can't establish a VPN connection. That's the type of scenario that you'll see us address today with the demonstration. Hardware software request, again, these are examples of, these aren't problems, these aren't incidents. We're using your help desk today in some ways that you sort of can attack these situations in the environment. I can see there's a whole other level of accountability, reporting, visibility in a way that you can customize the flow of the approvals. We call that an approval chain. An approval chain is basically a way where you can select users or groups, or based upon roles, like a manager role, somebody's direct manager. You can use all of those to define the steps of approval. Say, for this piece of software is more than $600. Not only to the person's manager, but then it gets rated to somebody who's in the group finance controllers. Complete flexibility as as we have these capabilities in the portal to associate any number of approval chain flows with the approval process and leveraging direct relationships that are in your Active Directory to do that. From time, there may be situations where in the interaction here you want to something doesn't work quite right, or there's some sort of an escalation. It's one click away to have access into the help desk, and the portal also presents a common way that the user can access their existing knowledge base. So we want this portal to be a place you can train users to go to a variety of IT service requests, of which incident and problem management with help desk may be one of them, but it's the only thing that's available to them. It's a broad array of things that you publish to your users. Because this is cloud delivered, it makes it pretty easy to use and deploy. You'll see that as we go through the demo today. And one of these workflows, as we've talked with customers and early adopters, we're trying to focus on how we can minimize the hand touch, the face-to-face touch, sending somebody to the physical device to resolve the issue, resulting in productivity gains for the IT staff as well as the user. Everything that happens in the portal is audited. So it's very easy from a management perspective to see, well, who's changing their passwords and how often is it happening? Who's doing the request for a particular piece of software, and how long is it taking those to be approved on average? There's a great set of trails and reports that come with the product. Time isn't going to allow us today to dive through all the capabilities in detail, but everything that you see has very good auditing and reporting capabilities associated with it. See in the demo today some of these three scenarios that we walk through, but the product is built on a very extensible platform. And as you look through the beta and the release product, you can say, could I use this for additional capabilities? One of the reasons we've chosen the technology elements that we have to put the product together is a very open, customizable system, and it's very straightforward, just as we've integrated with Active Directory and SCCM. If you have other business systems in your environment, there's a platform that we can tie into those with very minimal professional services effort. So to wrap what you'll be seeing here, we have a portal which is hosted on cloud that both administrators and users connect up to. It is a cloud-to-site connection that allows us to talk to things such as Active Directory and Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager. Basically, this is just a small piece of code that you'd run on some Windows box somewhere in your firewall. It acts as the proxy to intermediate the requests that are being generated in the cloud for information that may need to come out of Active Directory, such as updating a password. Obviously, you need to update the domain controller in Windows with that password update. So this is what this small proxy does that's running on-premise. There's no database, it's headless, there's not a dedicated box, it's just a small agent that runs inside your firewall that's able to do the translate calls from the cloud into either Active Directory System Center, or if you wanted some customizations into other devices or business systems that are not. So that's a quick overview and enough with the chatting. I'd like to now turn it over to Stu, who's going to drive us through the demonstration.
Hi, Dwayne. Hi, everyone. My name is Stu Perkins. I'm glad to be with you today to walk you through a couple of scenarios here with SkyCentral. Let me go ahead and share my desktop. So that's a great introduction to the capabilities of the port, how it integrates with your infrastructure. It allows you to manage in one central location in the cloud your business and services, automation tasks, and primarily what we'll look at today is a self-service catalog of items that end users can access to reduce the cost of managing a help desk. basically to take some of the load off of technicians and allow users to solve issues on their own. So, key scenarios that we want to look at today. The first is simply password reset. So this is a domain password reset. I'm an end user. I'm mobile. I'm off of the network somewhere, and I've lost access to the VPN, some other infrastructure. So I need to be able to reset that domain password. So SkyCentral will allow them to do that. We'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at a software request example. Finally, a simple request approval fulfillment type workflow. Again, just to sort of reinforce what Dwayne said before, the technology that this product is built on provides a high level of customization for managing workflow and business rules. But we just want to show you some of the kind of high-level user-facing capabilities that will be available, something that they can actually start adding value to your enterprise day one without a ton of customization. In the first scenario, I am logged in here as an administrator in SkyCentral, and right now I'm looking at the administrator's view of the service catalog. So I have access to these administrators here and the kinds of tools that end users would see under these two categories, general services and services. And let's do a password reset. But before we do, I want to talk for just a second about how the password reset workflow in SkyCentral is policy driven. So I imported users and groups from my domain, which domain-wide can import my entire domain, can specify organizational units or even groups within my domain that I want to sync up. Once on that, I have the ability to apply password reset policies to specific sets of groups. The idea with these policies is that they need to have more or less restrictive rule around what requirement, what hoops a user has to jump through in order to reset their password. So here, policies that are defined. The first down here is the one that's provided out of the box. This is an example. This is a fallback policy. If a user happens to not belong to any group that has a policy applied, then this is the policy that applies. And then this one, a normal password reset policy. A couple of points about these questions that are required for a user to provide an answer to. So when a user first logs into the system, they're required to select from a global pool of secure questions and provide an answer to those questions to be checked with later. Policy also specifies whether or not an SNS PIN verification system should be used. So if that's enabled, then a PIN number will be sent to the user's configured mobile device, which they'll then have to enter into Central before they'll be allowed to reset their password. And then I want to point out about these policies is the ordinal value. This is sort of an arbitrary way of defining what makes a policy more or less restrictive. And the reason for this is that it's very easy for a user, obviously, to belong to multiple groups and different policies to be applied to those groups. So SkyCentral needs to know when a user is resetting their password, which policy it'll apply, and it will always apply the policy with the lower ordinal value, or by convention, the most restrictive policy. So that's what policies look like, and with that, let's jump over here to my other browser where I am attempting to log into the portal as an end user, and I've gotten my password. And again, this is my domain password. I've lost basically access to all of the corporate tools that I need, the VPN, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to proceed down this forgot password path here. So the first thing that the password reset process is going to ask me for is a username. So I'm going to enter my primary email address. It's also possible to enter your domain qualified username here. And it's telling me, okay, it's scanned the list of policies. It's found which policies apply to me based on the groups that I'm in. And it's decided it needs to ask me two security questions. So when you continue, I'm going to go ahead and provide my answers here. You may not be finding out more about life than you need to know. There we go. Now I'm going to enter my you might expect the password updates the local record in SkyCentral, but also updates the domain credentials for this user. And after, depending on how many different systems that's connected to, after some amount of propagation, that password will have been reset on all of those systems. So now I can log back into the portal with my new password. And while I'm logged in here as an end user, I just want to point out a couple of things about the service catalog. So the view that an end user gets is a lot less cluttered, obviously, because they're going to be coming here exclusively to this service catalog and have some out-of-the-box things here that are available for them. And the catalog is extensible for the administrator. Different categories can be added. And we'll also look in a minute at how an administrator can even add a very simple one-form wizard, additional simple approval type processes that an end user can use. Also want to point out here that out of the box, we've got this catalog items here that connect or can connect into your existing group help desk and knowledge base systems. So that's an easy thing to set up and configure if you're using those systems in your enterprise. And so those here. And I also have the ability as an end user to at any time go and reset my secret questions. And this wizard will also allow me to define my SMS enabled phone number for PIN verification. And I can request password reset on demand from here as well. So that's one. What we've done is we've taken a look at how the reset workflow is policy driven, how those policies can be set up by an administrator, and then walked through a password reset process as an end user. So next is take a look at the software request process. So I'm going to flip over here for a moment, administrator account, and I go down here under inventory management software. We have a catalog capability here for hardware and software packages. Software packages can currently be imported one of two ways, either by manually adding a new software definition or by importing them from a CSV or spreadsheet using a specified format. As Dwayne mentioned, very shortly after release, once we've provided the full SCCM integration, software can also be imported from your existing SCCM instance through the Cloud to Site agent. And also, once that software has been imported from SCCM, be an automatic delivery option that would then use the agent to broker a request to SCCM to go ahead and install that software for the end user. Software out provides one delivery option, which is the manual delivery option, in which a configurable group or person would get a task to provide instance to the end user, or perhaps to go and install the software on behalf of that user. So let's go back over here to the end user section and start a software request process. So it's a visual interface. The list of software that they can choose from would be here. This would include all of the patches, whether natively added or used through SCCM. So I'm TechSmith Jing here, a great little screen capture utility that I like to use. And that's what I want. And then I'm going to add some comments here. I need this to work. Please let me buy it. So user, my request has been submitted. I'm going to jump over here to a third browser where I am playing the role of the end user's manager. So manager one at SkyCentral.com in my domain actually plays two roles. One is that he's in the SkyCentral administrators group, He plays a role in the approval chain for software requests. That's been set up for this demo to just have one level for simplicity, and so the task has gone to all in that SkyCentral Administrators group, which includes Manager 1. We'll see in a minute that when we submit a time-off request, which is an example of just a simple workflow, that particular approval chain is configured to go to the requester's manager. And I've in the domain, the manager for end user 1 is in fact manager 1. So we'll take a look at that in a second. But for now, go over here to my tab list, and I can see a software request for end user 1, and I will approve or deny it. So I'm feeling congenial today, so I'm going to approve the request. And so, like I mentioned before, there's a delivery option, which is the mail option. And so the fulfillment task has gone to the implementer, if you will, for software delivery. I have, for the purpose of this demo, set up to be the admin user. So we're here now at my admin session, and I'll go up to my task list. The task to fulfill a software request. So doing a software request in manual mode can mean, but we're going to provide some instructions to the end user that this has been approved, just go ahead and get what you need. So they go here to download, and I can make a hyperlink. Goes to smith.com. And this approval and instructions are going to go to the end user in two ways. Going to send an email to their inbox so that they can see it there. Also, though, in just a moment when the screen refreshes here in a little bit, we'll see a notification pop up for end user that their request has been approved and that they can go and download that software. Software request process in a nutshell. Again, administrator, I have the ability to set up approval chains for those processes and also for the generic workflow processes that we're getting ready to take a look at. Under some designers is where I can manage my approval chain. Currently, I have 3 lines. The first is the demo approval chain, which is just available as an example, and we use the software request approval chain for that request process. I'm going to go through the third scenario, which is a very simple workflow that we've set up for demo purposes here, a time-off request. And we're going to take advantage of this time-off approval chain for that request. But before we get into that from an end-user perspective, let me just go back to the service catalog here as an administrator and show you that in the administration tools under the service catalog, I have this new approval process wizard. And by filling out the one form on this wizard, I'm not going to do this now, we've already set one up, but by filling out, I can create a process that is instantly added to the service catalog. I set the description that the approvers would see and that the users would see, and I can put in a folder under the service catalog, and of course I assign an approval chain to it. In 5 minutes or less, I can add a simple new process into the service catalog. Here, by the time-off request, and so now pop back over in user session, I'm going to go ahead and submit that request. Form that we've set up here for the demo, I just have to provide a title, which I'm going to say vacation next week as a I'm off with my family. Go ahead and enter the daters for that. Submit that request. Simple, the request goes off, and as an end user now, I just have to wait for approval. In this case, to reiterate, the approval chain we selected has that request going to not a user or a group, but actually to a relation. So this is some functionality that's available when doing approval chains in SkyCentral. this concept of relations, where a task would dynamically be assigned to some user who has some specific kind of relation to the requester. And it's the manager. It's the manager because we're talking about domain users that is actually set up in the domain. And just to also point out, if information like that changes in the domain, a manager changes, a user number changes, anything that happens in the domain, users move into a different group. When the sync runs on the configured schedule, which right now in my system is set to 1 day, all that information will come in. If you have the domain sync is actually really, really fast. When you have a very small, a reasonably small domain that you're syncing to, it makes sense to keep that sync schedule, 2 or even less. Or you have a lot of turnover in your domain, a lot of transition going on. But if you have a large domain, you might want to keep that daily, particularly if there's not a lot of turnover there. So I have submitted a time off request, and I'm now going to jump back over to my manager session here, and I have a task in my task list to approve that time off request. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Again, feeling genial, so you may avoid your station. And I'm going to do that. And that's it. So then the end user, just like before, get a notification by email and an in-app notification that their request has been approved, and away they go. So 3 scenarios, again, keeping it very simple for today's demo, but there's on a very vast workflow and business rule management platform. There's a deep capability for customization of all these flows, the business that drives them. And so we looked at a password reset, policy-driven password reset for a domain user, and we looked at a software request that hooks into the software catalog, and then looked at a simple out-of-the-box request approval fulfillment type process approval chain. So with that concludes my walkthrough today, and I guess with that I'd like to hand it over to Tyson Green, who will provide some additional information about the product. So Tyson?
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate you showing that demonstration. Just as a continue on, just to let you know that we are going to have a beta. We have beta registration right now, so the beta will be available beginning next Monday. That is June 16th. And so if you'd like to, if you have not signed up yet, please visit this link to sign up for the beta to test out the SkyCentral Portal and how it works in your environment. And you can go through each of these scenarios and dive deeper into it if you'd like. And it'll be available next Monday, so just go to this link, let us know that you want to sign up for it, and we'll create an instance for you and let you have at it. Next, I have just a few points of information for you to help alleviate some of your questions that you may have. As I said, beta availability is next week. The general availability right now is early Q3, and so that's not too far away. That's actually just a few weeks away. So that's when the general availability of this product will be for purchase. On the pricing, just know that it's going to be a subscription-based model, and it's going to be based on per user per month. Now, in addition to that, if you'd like to purchase for a full year and you want to budget for a year's worth of time, money, instead of just on a per month basis, you can purchase a year's worth at a slight discount compared to this per month pricing. Then our existing Everything Help Desk customers, we're putting a bundling discount, and so we combine this with as a suite of products to work with Everything Help Desk, so you can link it to your help desk and knowledge base. Like 2 separate products together, there will also be a bundling discount for that. And then we have open it up to any type of questions that you have. If you want to enter in those questions into the Q&A box on your screen, please go ahead and do so at this time. So, we have one question that has come in, and maybe I'll see if Dwayne can help with this question. Is there to how many times a week or month a password reset can be done by the end user?
No, the portal itself does not implement any. If there's some things in Active Directory where potentially you've set policy, then obviously we're changing any of the policies in Active Directory. That would also hold true in terms of things like password complexity, password reuse, etc. The portal will simply call Active Directory and request to make the change to the password. The implement of the password policies, such as reuse of password, password complexity, etc., that knowledge retains in your Active Directory, and the appropriate responses would come back. So frequency of change and password reuse, complexity, etc., all of those are things that you are maintained in your AD policies. The portal does not change or impact those. It will simply be, of course, expected as we call Active Directory to interact.
In the same vein, we just had another question come in that asks if you can restrict the time of day that passwords can be reset.
On products right now, the restrictions do not include time of day. The restrictions include the number, the policies that we have in place are around how many secret questions you have to respond to, and if there's a corresponding SMS, a text notification, or a voice notification, or both, the user would receive a code from. We feel like the practice is we should design it so that a person can be working anywhere at any time, and it's in the middle of the night because of time zone. They're traveling internationally or something, and it's the middle of the night back in where your home office is at, and they can't get onto the VPN because they've locked themselves out with a password. Still do that. So no, for this release, we'd have a time on the policies. It's number of questions, SMS code, and voice code, and combination of those that you make for the policies.
And Tiffany asked another question. Can end user check the status of a request?
I want to walk through what the user sees on what they requested.
So we didn't take a look at reports today just for the sake of time, but it's like a user has access to their task list. Users have a report, a very simple tabular report that just shows them the request that they've submitted, and let them drill in and see what the status of that request is. So that is there. We didn't have a chance to look at it today.
All right, I have a couple more questions that have come in. Here's one from Connie. How does the licensing work? Is it similar to eHelp Desk with technicians, administrators, and users who don't require licenses?
That one. The licensing in this case is based on the number of end users. The user is any number of devices. So a user may have a smartphone, a tablet, laptop, desktop, hosted, desktop. It's really it doesn't matter how many devices or which type of platform the user comes in from. The licensing of this is based upon the number of users. You can have a number of people with any number of roles of approvers. You can have different people in the organization that have authoring rights to create the new flows and adjust reports, etc. The only thing that is monitored from a licensing perspective is the total number of users that have access to use the portal, and that's how the licensing is tracked. So it is a different licensing model from Help Desk.
Thanks, Dwayne. This is a good question that we had asked. Which mobile platforms are supported?
So this release, we are explicitly testing the support browsers on iOS and Android with the current release -1 in terms of the versions. We haven't explicitly testing BlackBerry, but these are straightforward HTML interfaces at the mobile devices, and I expect it to work. It's just not explicitly on our testing matrix. And you'll see Windows mobile device again with their support is there as well. So basically, as the end user, the platforms that we are explicitly testing in our matrix are Mac OS, Windows in the current -1 versions, OS and Android in their current and N-1 versions.
Great, Dwayne. All right, here's the next question from Rachel. Will a copy of this webinar be available? There were others from my department that were absent, would have liked to join. And the answer, of course, Rachel, I can go ahead and answer this one, is yes, we always record these webinars. This one is no exception. It's being recorded. Afterwards, you will get the link to it that we will out to everybody who registered for the webinar, and it will be available on our website. So just look for an email from us, and it will have a link to the recording of the webinar. Here's a question from Connie. How customizable is the user interface?
I'll take a first few comments, and then maybe Stu can jump in as well. So as a technology choice in terms of how we built this product, using some technologies that give us a very strong workflow infrastructure and a workflow backend, and you kind of hopefully get a sense of that as we walk through the demonstration today. And a couple of different persona types that can access the system. And by default, when you log into the portal as a customer and you want to manage the system, we let you adjust, color fonts. We let you create these new forms. We let you basically create the configuration parameters on what you've seen in the demonstration today. If looking at this solution and saying, gee, this is really interesting, but I've got, let's take an example, I've got Workday in my environment, and I can see I'd like to, one of these workflows, I'd like to have it actually go in and automatically adjust something Workday. I've got a custom HTML form that I've already built for another process. I'd like to put that into the approval of a flow. That's where, at a professional services level, we give you what's called a full authoring license to the environment and let you actually create your own flows from scratch, not just configure the existing flows that are in the system, but you can actually insert new code, HTML, C#, Java, that interacts with the system. So we've technology that we believe gives you features and functions out of the box, but as you have specific business integration requirements, we can have a follow-on discussion on if you have full authoring rights to integrate into existing systems, like say, like a Workday, like a Salesforce, like a RP, devices, et cetera. The technology is well suited to do that, and we can provide that. That's a different license type that we talk through on a basically have the full authoring rights. We can talk about the licensing costs associated with that. Stu, more closer to the dev side. Any more comments you'd like to add to that?
Thanks, Dwayne. out of the box, there's a couple of just really quick and easy ways to customize the look and feel of the system. So it can be rebranded, and a number of built-in themes that can be chosen to change the look and feel a little bit. And then, of course, everything, because the system is built on a content management, or a platform that, among other things, sorts pretty plus content management, is the navigation can be easily reconfigured on the left, and this catalog, of course, can be extended and icons changed and everything around. So to that degree, everything is the look and feel can be changed fairly easily. And then the second thing I wanted to point out is that there is a very granular permissions model. So another way that the experience of using SkyCentral would change from user to user is based on their rights within the system and their access to certain objects. So that's something that will be under the administrator's control when you set up your SkyCentral instance. And pages and dashboards can be created. And of course, like Dwayne said, when you get into some of the deep stories, custom workflows and things like that, that would be a different license level.
Dwayne and Stu, for that answer, that was great. Covered that well. Okay, it looks like we have only about 3 more questions. And here's the first of those 3. Is this tied to the Everything Help Desk in any way? Can a user submit an Everything Help Desk ticket through the SkyCentral portal or see their submitted tickets?
So we do offer some out-of-the-box integration. What we really kind of glossed over and didn't dive into it in any depth is from the blog, they've got access to the Everything Help Desk capabilities with just a contextual link. Another level of integration that's in the system is if you want to tie the request, as you build these new catalogs, if you want to tie requests with intelligent links, they can write back into Everything Help Desk. So because Everything Help Desk is a browser platform as well as the portal, it's how we were able to embed links in one of the responses. That's an easy way that you can start tying them together. But to be clear, from a licensing perspective, they are separate licenses, and everything that you've seen implemented today can run independent of Help Desk. However, if Help Desk is there, then you register it and start performing those contextual linkages between the requests.
2 more here. How big of an Active Directory will it work with?
We've been doing testing in terms of many tens of thousands of users. For the initial release, our target is not to go to the world's, Fortune 100 for the product. We're trying to make sure from stability and scalability, it's going to work well for the small and mid-size. But I think for the purposes of, I believe who we have on the call today, we are looking at many tens of thousands of gigs. And so one of the things we really didn't highlight, you can scope access to this based upon OU or based upon groups in the directory. So you may have a directory of, let's say, 5,000 users, but you only want, let's say, a North American OU to have access to the portal. That's fine. When you configure the directory integration, you can select based on OUs or groups the subset of the directory whose users you want to have access to the system. So many thousands of users, and it doesn't have to be a global all or nothing. You can scope based upon groups or OUs where those users have access to the portal.
All right, and I think this is the last question. I'm the administrator. How do I know how much my users are using the portal?
This goes back to just a time constraint on the webinar today. as I mentioned, everything that happens in the system is audited and logged, and there's details in terms of the user, the IP address, the time, all the particulars in terms of what's happening for all of the flows that are in the system. All of the data is there, and there are some out-of-the-box reports that basically show count by catalog type and by user, and it's very easy in the reporting system to filter, to export, to share. So this is understand, particularly when you start talking about password management, that security people that you work with in your teams are going to use an eyebrow and say, okay, it's got to have audit trails and audit logs, and I need to know exactly what happened. And everything, every activity from any context, user, administrator, authoring, all things are logged, and there's associated reports that the administrator has access to look at and analyze all that information.
All right, Dwayne. Okay, I've just double-checked, and I believe that was the last question. I think we've answered all of them. So thank you so much, Tyson, Stu, and Dwayne, for all the answers to those questions and for your presentations. Thank you to Amy. She was behind the scenes here helping us make sure it was going well with this webinar. So this time we're going to close the Q&A. We've answered all the questions and webinar by reminding you, as we always do, to connect with SkyCentral and GroupLink. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google+. 4 ways that you can connect with SkyCentral. I encourage you to use those. Make sure to stay up to date with all the latest updates, and we'll do the best we can to keep you in the loop. Thank you so much for coming. Please remember that we will send out a recording of this webinar. We'll send a link later today or tomorrow, and you can view the recording at any time, and feel free to share it with anybody who wasn't able to attend from the organization. We really appreciate all the attendance that you guys, the attendance that we have every month. We do these customer webinars, and so many people always show up, and we appreciate the chance to interact with our customers, and we were so excited about this chance to introduce SkyCentral to you. Thank you so much for coming to the webinar today. We hope you have a great day, and please remember that you can pick up the phone and call us at any time, and we'd be happy to talk to you or answer any of your questions. We love to interact with the customer, so feel free to give us a call at any time. 801-335-0777 is the SkyCentral number. Thank you so much, and have a great day.